And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to finally another weekend edition of the PondCast, your weekly catch-up show here, wrap-up show on the CranKy Ducklings of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, your side VIP with you and joined by these amazing people in the chat and by Crow handling the production side of things as well. Welcome one and all. Do apologize as we have been gone for quite some time. We did decide to take a bit of a break during the holidays, so we did take some time off during the Christmas holidays, during New Year's, but we did have an unplanned hiatus last week as well. So do apologize. We have been gone from the podcast for a couple of weeks, but now we're here, now we're back, and we have a lot to catch up on. There's just so many events, so many tournaments, and so much news that was announced. Because there was so much, we are going to be splitting it up a little bit, and we're going to be moving some of it to next week, just because there's so much to try to catch up on. So just bear that in mind. There are some events we'll be discussing, like the OSC 13 Championship. That will be discussing that next week. The Stormgate patch will also be discussing that next week, among some other topics as well, like the RSL After Dark, and of course the StarCraft shooter speculation. But we'll get into it next time. For now, though, we are going to be jumping into the first bit of news, and that is a little bit of a somber note to start things off. But SHIN, he was let go from Weibo Gaming. Weibo Gaming, WBG, they have had SHIN for quite some time at this point, for around a year or so. Basically, coming into the 2025 EWC season, SHIN was picked up, but has since been let go. Is this a sign of things to come? It is really hard to say, really. I think when it comes to any kind of doom and gloom, typically I think people look at Team Falcons and some of the Saudi teams, and if they like Twisted Minds, for example, and if they start to let go of some of their players, whether it's Twisted Minds, whether it is Team Falcons, then you might be thinking something is a little bit more concerning. Bearing in mind, I still think there's one game left to be announced for 2026 EWC, just like last time. It's unfortunate, but again, there's still one game yet to be announced. Us here in StarCraft are waiting for said announcement, and I mean, I'm optimistic that it is going to be coinciding. It is going to be coming alongside EWC this year, but only time will tell. For the time being, though, again, SHIN has parted ways, and hopefully we can see SHIN bounce back and find another team. Again, SHIN is currently in very good form. SHIN has been looking like a beast as of late, and deserving to be on a team for sure. So we'll see. Fingers crossed here for SHIN. I hope he's able to land on his feet and find a nice team, especially if EWC comes back around. I do guarantee that SHIN will be finding himself a team, might even rejoin WBG. Might even rejoin Weibo Gaming, but otherwise, he again was let go. Some other updates in regards to players or ex-players here. We have an update from Dark. I mean, Dark, again, I highly recommend checking out Dark's social medias because he does often post and tweet about himself still playing StarCraft, laddering, and still having some amazing results, even behind the scenes on the ladder, and not quite in tournaments, as he's still conducting his military service, but still very much so in love with StarCraft. But he actually did post a bit of a photo and a video as well of his daughter playing StarCraft, of course. If you remember, Dark did say that if his daughter ever learned StarCraft, he would make sure that she played Protoss to make sure she has an easier time competing. So we'll see if that comes true. We'll see. But it's very cute. It's a very cute image of his daughter tapping away at the keyboard. I'm sure is emulating her dad. I'm sure does watch her dad ladder and maybe has picked up some skills and picks up some APM from that as well through osmosis. Love to see it. It's very, very cute though. Very, very cute. Much love to Dark and his family, of course. Again, Dark is still a ways away when it comes to concluding military service. I think it's still like 9-8 months away, so still a ways away. But again, there's a very high chance that he'll return to us, just because of how much he's been playing and how much he's been posting about StarCraft, even being in the military. So big shout out to Dark, big shout out, Happy New Year, of course. Happy New Year, Dark. Speaking of New Year, we have some big news here from Hajin as well. Hajin, I think we already posted when Hajin got married, when we had Hajin's wedding. I think we already did speak on that when that was occurring, but Hajin is soon to have a child as well. You know, everyone's having kids, everyone's getting married, Hajin being one of them as well. So much love. Hajin, of course, kind of having her mark in the history of StarCraft as a former like interviewer, as a former translator as well. Like Hajin was a big part of StarCraft, especially international StarCraft, when it comes to the foreign side of things and the foreign scene. So much love to Hajin. Nowadays, again, not really too involved when it comes to StarCraft or esports as much anymore, but despite that, still really cool to see these updates. I do recommend checking out Hajin's Instagram for other pictures and photos regarding said current life, of course, and soon to be child as well. So really cool. And there was a brief little like summary as well, talking about like the time that she spent in Korea in recent times and the time that she spent in esports, working for T1, working for Tencent and other organizations. So really cool to see. Much love to Hajin. Also does still post about esports, especially T1, even despite the fact that she doesn't work for them anymore, still does often post on socials regarding them. It's really cool to see. Much love to Hajin and her partner. Really cool to see, and best of luck to the both of them. See, what we're really waiting for is Hajin's child's APM video, so that we can compare with Dark's. True. Next generation of pro gamers, baby. Let's go. So much love to Hajin. That leads us into the big event that did occur throughout the course of the holidays. That was the Experion tournament. ExperionCraft number 3, bearing in mind that Gabe has been hosting these events on a semi-regular basis in Germany, and they've been a little bit smaller in scale at times. They have had some international kind of audiences and some international interest from players around Europe traveling and competing in his tournaments. It's been really cool to see him hosting and running the events, bearing in mind that Big Gabe does not compete, but he does cast, host, and run the event. And again, this is the third ExperionCraft that he has held, but for the first time, I believe Rotterdam traveled to cast. I think before this, it was mainly just Gabe, kind of like, manning the fort himself. I do know that other big German players were also competing, especially in the first one. We're going to Lambo, Showtime, would travel and compete as well, but here we did have some more international representation. It didn't just have the regular German players, but if you look here at the bracket, we had Astra traveling, really cool to see. We had Harsum traveling, Geralt as well, Clem, Rainer. We had some heavy hitters alongside the regular German representation. Even Christiana, a little bit surprised. Christiana, he's not really one to travel too much. I know that he went to Star Zagora last year, but maybe that kind of motivated him to travel and compete even further. But yeah, the Polish boys, Geralt and Christiana, were also there as well. Even HackErIsTop. Oh my god. I don't think I've seen him at a LAN before.
I would like to point out that Christiana actually has Polish-German nationality on his Wikipedia.
He does. Yeah, he does have German nationality. But yeah, really cool to see some Ukrainian representation. HackErIsTop, Mini Zerg as well, repping her Kagre T team. Shaking my head. But yeah, really cool to see them all there competing and taking part. And yeah, definitely a turnout that I wasn't really expecting. Again, in the previous event, it was mainly German. It was like mainly German players, and that's kind of it. So really cool to see a more diverse array of competitors in the third edition of Gabe's tournament. When it comes to the prize pool, it was a 5K, $5,000 prize pool. Was a one-day event. A lot of StarCraft was going on. It looks like there wasn't a group stage or anything like that. It was just a big double elimination bracket instead. Massive bracket. Did I say double elimination? Looks like triple elimination. What's going on here? Oh my god. But there was like there's the upper bracket, there's the lower bracket, then there's the elimination bracket as well. So there's quite a lot going on there. But yeah, really cool to see all these competitors coming into it. Clem, of course, was coming in as the heavy favorite to win it all. Rainer was going to be a very interesting kind of challenger to Clem, and they had a back and forth. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, though, a big shout out to Christiana. Christiana, he 2-0'd Showtime. He took a map off of Rainer as well, and did take a map off of Lambo. So Christiana, he actually performed really well in this tournament, 2-0'ing Showtime, map off of Rainer, who's arguably second best Zerg player in the world, and a map off of Lambo as well. So crazy results there by Cristiano. When it comes to Lambo, he also did pop off. I'm very impressed that Lambo took down Showtime. Oh my god. I do typically rate Showtime above Lambo, so for Lambo to win that out was very impressive. But then he did go down to Raynor in the rematch. Raynor and Clem, they had a back and forth. Initially, Clem did defeat Raynor in a best of 5, 3-1. Then they had the rematch of the grand finals, and because it was double elimination, they did have a second life. So Raynor beat Clem in the rematch 3-2. Very impressive comeback there from Raynor. But then they had the kind of like decider match after that. That best of 3 final series to determine who will win. And Clem won 2-0. So Clem, even though he did lose once to Raynor, he did beat Raynor twice. Right? He beat Raynor in the upper brackets and then in the grand finals in that best of 3. So GG, well played. Congratulations here to Clem, as he is going to be our champion. But a shout out to Raynor for holding his own, for taking a series against Clem, which not many can say that they've done. Clem is arguably the best player in the world, or at least the best Terran player in the world. So for Raynor to perform as well as he did, very impressive. Very, very impressive. I know that Raynor has been practicing and competing and training a lot as of late, especially given his time in Korea in recent times as well. Bearing in mind he was in Korea for RSL, of course recently came back to Europe, and of course we have the Home Cup right around the corner as well. True. I almost forgot about that, but God. Home Cup is also around the corner, but congratulations to Clem for becoming our champion, and I hope to see more of these in the future. Again, this is the 3rd edition. I want to say the 3rd in 2 years, and I'm sure Gabe is motivated to continue to run this event. Especially with the caliber of players and with Rotterdam helping the cast as well, I would imagine that viewership and the sponsors are happier with this event. I would imagine they got a lot more for it. At least I hope that is the case. And yeah, here's some more in the future. GG all play. Congratulations to Clem. Shout out to Gabe for hosting the event. Here's to more XPERIONCRAFT tournaments. Here's some more. There's also a little video that Gabe did post on his socials, a bit of a wrap-up video. Again, it was a LAN event, if I didn't make that clear. Everyone was showing up, and it looks like they had a great time. Like they had a great time. Meanwhile, when it comes to our next big event that was announced, that is this weekend, by the way, that we might even cast ourselves, that is the WTL comeback tournament. Now, bearing in mind that this initially was scheduled for, I want to say last year November. I think it was meant to be last year November, but it was pushed back. It was rescheduled for, I'm not entirely certain as to the reasoning for it, but again, there was some scheduling issues, so it had to be moved around, and it's great to see it finally come to fruition, especially with a new name. It is the Thunderfire StarCraft All-Star Invitational. If you recall, this event was again previously announced. We already knew that certain players were going to be there. We were aware of Oliveira, we were aware of Scarlet, so there were a lot of players that we had already known even last year in November, right? If you remember, we were talking about how because of the initial scheduling date, Scarlet was playing in SE for All, she was playing in Stellarfest, like she was competing in the Canadian tournament, she started playing in online tournaments, and it was all meant to lead into the Chinese Invitational, but then it got rescheduled. But now it's scheduled a couple months later, and Scarlet, of course, is still a part of the event as well. And again, we already knew that Oliveira was going to be competing here. Bearing in mind that this is a show match, and it's going to be like a legend show match featuring retired players, which is why Oliveira is there. Just remember that. Do not take this to believe that does this mean that Oliveira is like back and competing again? No, that is not the case. That's why you see Oliveira alongside MMA, alongside Sue, alongside Innovation, other retired players. There are other players here that aren't retired, like Rogue, SOS, and Scarlet. DRG, I would say, is pretty retired at this point. Like, again, DRG, he plays in very, very little, and he's a lot less in shape. Like at DRG, he plays more casually, more so than anything at the moment. I'll say the Rogue, SOS, and Scarlet are a little bit more in form, are going to be favored amongst the legend group and the legend players. But again, it's really cool to see some of these players that we haven't seen compete in years, like MMA. When was the last time MMA competed? Like early Legacy? Like it's hold on. MMA,
I know exactly when.
It's been
I know
years.
exactly when MMA last competed, because it was the Home Cup when he retired, and MC sang for him at the finals.
Yeah. But I remember he played in another show match. It was 2023, so just under 3 years ago, like two and a half years ago. I remember he played in Gamers 8. Gamers 8, they invited MMA to a show match, a Legends show match as well. Fun fact. MC also competed in that Legends show match, if you remember. And yeah, so it's been a couple of years. It's been a couple of years, and obviously before that, even more years as well since he competed. Before that, it was 2018, which was the Home Story Cup that he did compete in. So it's been a long time. It's been a very, very long time. So yeah, again, it's been around 2 years since he last competed, and even before that, it was another 5 years on top of that as well. But we did hear from MMA recently when it came to the Zombergub interview, if you recall, with the GLHF interview. So we have heard from MMA Innovation. Also, it's been many years since he competed. Sue, more recent retiree. SOS recently coming back. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Don't expect the highest caliber of play when it comes to this. Think of it more of, again, just a show match. Think of it as something to enjoy and to embrace.
I want to say that innovation is still around in esports technically, but by that I mean we mostly see him during the broadcasts of his brother, because his brother plays League of Legends like professionally, and very often innovation is somewhere in the crowd and the cameras really like to show him. So that's how we know that he's still somewhere out there.
Is his brother still compete? I thought his brother retired.
If he did, it was like recently. I'm pretty sure he was still playing. Like recently.
I'm curious. I'm gonna double check here. No, okay, he's still competing. Okay. His brother's Gomayusi. Okay. But yeah. So it's gonna be, God, he doesn't look too much like his brother.
Yeah, they're not
I will
very
say
similar.
that.
Look, it happens, okay?
No. But yeah, so we have the Legends. We also have the actual competitors: Maru, Cure, Clem, Raynor, Solar, Classic, Hero, and Serral. The best of the best, right? If you look at the lineup here for the show match, these are the best players in the world. When you look at Terran, Clem, Cure, Maru. When you look at Zerg, Solar, Serral, and Raynor. When you look at Protoss, Hero, and Classic, right? The only person missing from this group of top players in the world would be MaxPax, of course, and MaxPax doesn't compete in offline events. So taking MaxPax aside, like, these are the best Terran, Protoss, and Zerg players out there. So you will not get better than this. You can make like an argument for like SHIN, maybe for Zerg to be up there as well, or yeah, you can make like an argument for that. I would say that Solar's recent form and recent performances do set him above SHIN, like as a solid third place at the moment. So I would say that. So looking at this lineup makes sense. Like, these are the best players in the world. And yeah, it's going to be a wild weekend. I did mention that we may cast it ourselves. I say may. I did post an update video a couple of days ago talking about, what's happening IRL, and because of that, might not be available to cast. So we'll see. At the moment, my availability just has been not the most consistent, hasn't been the most reliable. So depending on that, may cast, may not. But again, it's going to be over the weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be fire event. Two-day event over the weekend. Best of luck to all the competitors. We've already seen some images up here of players arriving in China. Hero, Classic, Serral as well, and I'm sure many others. Clem, he arrived actually today. Earlier today as well. So
yeah,
a lot of players are now arriving.
We also just got an update of a bunch of Korean players as well arriving. Like literally just a few minutes ago. An hour.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have all those photos being released. So again, look forward to it. Again, that is right. I kind of glossed over it. What the show match even is. This show match is meant to be a celebration of the return of the Chinese server. If you remember, a couple of years ago at this point, Blizzard and NetEase, they kind of had a bit of a split when it came to their partnership. There were some negotiation issues, and the partnership was broken. Blizzard, they failed to even get a replacement. By the way, they failed to replace NetEase as a partner in the Chinese region, and they just didn't get anyone. So the Chinese server went down for all their games, and now they've renegotiated. They've been, I would say that part of this has to do with Microsoft, by the way. I also did hear that I think there was some other leadership in Blizzard prior to Microsoft's acquisition, which again kind of did kind of like tank negotiations with NetEase, and things were not going well there. But after Microsoft acquisition, and now things are looking a little bit better, and now we have seen them renegotiate and form another partnership. Now NetEase is going to be, or has already launched the server for not just StarCraft but Overwatch, Diablo, World of Warcraft as well, and all these other servers. And with that's what this event is meant to be celebrating. That's why initially it was scheduled for November, but again there were other things or other issues that did force it to be pushed back a little bit, but now it's returning. Likewise, the Chinese server is now live, and we have actually seen a lot of people actually switch over and play on the Chinese server instead, even from outside of China. The reasoning for this is that the Chinese server actually has its own updates, and is of course isolated, and has its own kind of like support going for it. One of the big things, of course, I don't know if Kura knew this, but the issue that's happening with the arcade currently, that doesn't exist in the Chinese server. Like everything's working fine, like publishing is open, so a lot of modders, a lot of arcade makers have actually started to move from, say, the Korean server, from the European server, and actually host their mods and actually host their games on the Chinese server instead. I know that Starduck was very excited, and he was telling me about how he was playing KS2 on the Chinese server.
Of course,
I was like, God damn it.
But yeah, I have heard that like a lot of modders like are testing at least their mods on the Chinese server, because the Chinese client has like its own version, and I don't, I'm not even sure it's like made by Blizzard, or it's like made by NetEase, but like they have their own version that's been like very much updated, and I think they were able to fix the issues. So we'll see.
It is confirmed that NetEase, like, they have their own like developers, have their own support staff that like are patching the game itself. But yeah, like a lot of arcade players are just switching and playing on the Chinese server instead, which is interesting to hear. And again, the hope is that eventually the patches and the updates that the Chinese server has will be implemented to the international version. Hopefully that's sooner rather than later. But the idea is that that'll eventually happen. Meanwhile, we have another event that was announced. That is the Rongyi Cup Season 3. I'm a little bit unfamiliar with the previous seasons of this event, I'll be honest.
So I did actually hear that the previous seasons of this event were in different games, like they were non-StarCraft, so they just like do a different game every time.
There you go. The qualifiers already did take place, I believe. It took place this week, actually. We chose not to cast them as they were not necessarily lined up with what we were doing. But again, I'm sure we're going to be discussing those qualifiers a little bit later. But the event itself is going to be taking place in towards the end of the month, which is like a week away. So next week, we're going to have another big event here. Again, big prize pool, 21,000 USD. From my understanding, I believe it is going to be an online tournaments. Just double checking here. Yes, it's going to be an online event. Again, qualifiers already taking place, invited players already making it through as well. Who do we have? We have Bjorn, Clem, Maru, Bunny, and Percival. We have the top Terrans. We are missing Cure. Cure is the one player that is missing here, but outside of that, we have kind of the best of the best. When it comes to Protoss, we have Classic, Heroes down, invited in, and we have some European representation through the qualifiers with Creator, Cristiano, Cyan, Showtime, and Trigger. And for Zerg, we have SHIN, Solar, and Rogue.
So as a quick note, the tournament is online, but the finals will be offline.
Yeah, so we do have the finals being played offline. It's a little bit weird because it does state here that specifically only the finals are offline, which is weird that they would only have a series instead of saying that the playoffs are offline, which would make more sense, right? It is cheaper to fly only 2 players to an event, but at the same time, it's going to be a short event if it's only 1 series. So, so it's an odd choice that they would only make the finals offline. If they were to do that, they should make it a best of 9 instead of a best of 7 to make it a longer event. But it's also possible that, especially if Kuro said that the previous seasons of the Rongyi Cup were in other games, it's possible that this is a part of a greater like festival or like esports events where they feature other games and other finals in other esports, and this is only a portion of that. It's possible that that's the case. if that's true, that would make more sense, right? Like if they have like a scheduled day, they have like a Warcraft 3 finals, then they have like a Brood War finals, then they have like an AoE finals, and then they have the StarCraft finals or something like that. Like if that's the case, then it makes sense why they would schedule it in such a way. Otherwise, it's a little bit odd if it was like on its own, isolated, just one best of. But otherwise, again, we have our confirmed players. We have the group stage as well. Looks like the groups have yet to be seeded, but I'm sure that will happen in the next couple of days. Because it's not seeded, we can't really, discuss. We can't really infer what's happening too much here. I will say, just quickly going over the invitees and the players that are going to be competing. As I mentioned, when it comes to Protoss and Terran, like these are who we expect. Cure is missing. I wonder if he even played in the qualifiers. But the other players that are missing are the top 2 Zerg players that are going to the Thunderfire event, which is Raynor and Serral. It's a little bit odd to see an event with this hefty of a prize pool, $21,000, and to not see Serral and Raynor. I'm curious if maybe they just assumed that there was going to be like invites sent their way. Maybe they're otherwise busy on those days and they declined the invites, or maybe they just didn't know about the event and they didn't know about the qualifiers either. Otherwise, that they could have been a sure thing to make it through those qualifiers. So it's a little bit odd to see that they're not there. But again, I would imagine it's either related to availability or maybe they just didn't know, right? Like it's very, very easily could be one of those things where they didn't get invited, so they weren't made aware of the event, and then they just didn't know about the qualifiers, and then it's like, it's happening. Well, qualifiers already happened. Like it's things like that do happen, unfortunately, where players just unaware of some things. So with that, so that does mean that Zerg representation in this tournament, I would say, is going to be a little bit weaker. I mean, obviously, they're the least amount of Zerg players compared to the other races here, but at the same time, without Raynor and Serral here, it does mean that the chances of Zerg players making a deep run is going to be a little bit smaller. I mean, again, as I mentioned before, Solar is in form at the moment, so is SHIN, so they do have a good chance to make it through, but at the same time, like, there are some big players here that typically kind of like are almost gatekeepers for them. Players like Hero, Classic, Clem, Maru, like those 4 come to mind as players that would typically shut SHIN, Solar, and Rogue down. So best of luck to them. Best of luck to them. I hope to see some diversity in the playoffs, but I don't know if I'm going to hold my breath for that. But it's what we're used to. It's what we're used to. Smooch. But best of luck, and again, that's going to be on the 22nd of January. It's going to be a multi-day event with the group stage, with the playoffs, and with the finals. So to look forward to that. Meanwhile, that leads us into the other big announcements of the year. That is the uThermal 2v2 circuit. If you recall, the circuit was taking place last year in 2025. Was a big event. There was a lot of interest in 2v2, and right now is the best time for it. Why is that, and why was it last year as well? Well, the circuit was running during the off season. During the off season, when players were actually able to focus on other aspects of the game. It also benefited events like SC Evolution. Remember, SC Evolution and 2v2s, 3v3s, and 4v4s, like these other kind of versions of the game got a lot of interest by the pro player scene when pre-EWC. Like during that period where it was like, oh, we're waiting for a proper confirmation announcement that EWC is going to be happening. In the months leading up to Stars Agora and leading up to Rongyi Cup and all these other events, there was a 3-month gap there. That is when we could run events like this, and the best players in the world were competing in 2v2s and in StarCraft Evolution. So once again, we're in that kind of off season. Right, we're in the off season of EWC, so this is the best time when players can start to branch out and do start to branch out and start to compete in things like 2v2. So players like Clem, players like Serral, players like Lambo, Showtime, Hero, Bjorn, they've all been competing in 2v2s. Whereas in the past, in many years past, that wouldn't really happen. Players that wouldn't really be too concerned in this kind of format, but the big reason for that is because in the past, the season would last all year long, right? Like the circuit, the WCS circuits or the EPT circuit would last a very, very long time, and there'd be a very, very small off season to allow players to actually have a reason to play something other than 1v1. We heard some of the players, I think Clem even spoke about that, about how usually because of EWC and because of the circuit that's going on, whether it's EWC, EPT, WCS, right, like as a professional, you know, you have to be focusing on 1v1. You have to be grinding that ladder, grinding custom games. You can't necessarily be quote unquote wasting time learning and playing, you know, the 2v2 meta or the 3v3 meta if there's no reason to. If your main focus and priority is the end of your championship, then that's where your focuses and your priorities lie. But right now we have the off season, so looking at the bracket, we have players again like Cyril, like Clem, like Trigger, Max, they're all taking part here. Really cool to see. Really cool to see. So shout out to uThermal. Likewise, also a massive prize pool as well. It is crowdfunded, so do check it out over on Matcherino. Matcherino got a lot of support, and I want to say he hit over $60,000 in donations, which is crazy. To be fair, a lot of it came from one person. I want to say there was one person that donated 50,000 on their own. I think it was like 50 or 40,000 on their own. Just like one, like massive passionate fan of StarCraft, which was crazy. So that was a big like kind of injection of prize money to the event, and we'll see how it's distributed. It's one of those things where if you get like a suddenly like massive support and massive influx, then it's one of those things where you have to make the decision as a tournament organizer: do I spread this out evenly amongst all the monthlies and into the circuit, or do I set some of this money aside for future, for 2027, for 2028, to ensure that that this, you know, has like a long-standing like legacy behind it, that you have like plans for multiple years ahead when it comes to a circuit like this. It comes down to uThermal. It comes down to how he wants to approach this, how he wants to fund this. At the end of the day, you know, the person that donated all that money donated it for the 2025 circuit. So at the same time, you know, it's one of those things where we could try to set some money aside for future years, but just because, you know, in future years you might not get that much support. But at the same time, you know, the intention of that initial donation of that money, of those funds, was for this year's circuit as well. So you have to also bear that in mind as to how it is going to be spent. So again, do of course have confidence in uThermal to make that decision and to bring it all together. Again, it is going to be a full circuit. We have monthlies. I want to say he's going to be hosting some weeklies every now and then as well, to kind of like keep players interested, keep players competing. It's going to be a big endeavor. Once again, we are going to be taking part as well, in the sense that myself and Kuro are admins. We do help run the event. That is why we do not cast it live. Last year we did cast the replays after the fact, and I'm going to try to do so this year as well. But initially, just because, you know, this past week has been so hectic and so intense, I just maybe for January we're going to be putting it aside for the time being. But yeah, we'll do our best to also provide some coverage. But there's just been a lot going on, IRL. A lot going on. So look forward to it. Do look forward to it. When it comes to the circuit itself, the January event did take place. When it comes to the event itself, we did have Cyril and LAN competing together. We had Trigger and Clem, who I would say is one of the best teams in the world in 2v2. We had Skills and a Laser. We had Solar and Beyond. This is something that we should kind of bring to your attention, is that last season, the Koreans weren't really too interested. We had a couple of duos. We had Ryung and Gumiho. We had Byeon and Percival. Those are the two that come to mind. Maybe Kuro can think of some other Korean duos. I mean, obviously 3-point Honmono, but like I'm thinking of like the big names. Like I'm thinking of Byeon, Percival. I'm thinking of Gumiho, Ryung, and maybe there was like another pairing, like maybe one more last year. But it was very rare. It was very rare to see the Koreans compete in 2v2, but now they're embracing it so much more. We had Ryung and SHIN joining forces. We had Solar and Beyond coming together as well. And again, these are duos that often do not compete in this kind of format, and for the first time, they walked that royal road. Solar and Beyond, again, they have very little experience playing 2v2 together. I'm sure that they've never played 2v2 together, actually, and they were kind of like off the cuff, you know, just trying to like on the fly figure out builds and styles and how to approach it, and they won. They took down some veterans here. They took down Showtime and Lambo. They took down Yang Yakov and Kree. They took down Skilless and a Laser in the finals, Team Liquid. Like, these are not, you know, low-level teams. Like, no, not at all. Like, it's an impressive run here by Solar and Beyond. Again, just walking that royal road and just kind of like testing things out for the first time. GG. GG, well played. Very impressive run there by Solar and Björn. You know, shaking up the 2v2 kind of scene here. Again, who do we expect to be here in this tournament in the finals? Trigger and Clem, and Spirit and Max Max. To be fair, Max Max didn't play with Spirit. He actually played with Harstem instead. Spirit actually nowhere to be found. And actually, I was going to say we haven't seen him for a while. Spirit has been competing in 1v1 tournaments, but in recent weeks, maybe also taking a break because of the holidays. Maybe just taking a break. Este Piotr. But that leads us into our mullet events. And again, sorry, I did a poor job explaining it, but the uThermal 2v2 circuit, it is going to be a monthly event leading into the end of year finals, from my understanding. So again, every single month you should be getting we should be getting tournaments, and I believe it does plan on hosting some weeklies every now and then as well. Speaking of, we do have the bonus cup that should be this weekend on the 17th of January. So he does plan on hosting some bonus cups every now and then. I'm sure is helped to be funded by the Matcherino and by the very generous donation. So some bonus cups every now and then. Currently, it looks like April, May, June. June is going to be the suggested date for the finals, around halfway through the year. And the reason for this is because ideally, he doesn't want to have this clash with EWC. Obviously, we don't have confirmation, but the assumption, if EWC happens, you don't want to clash with it. You want to let players be able to compete in it. Ideally. That leads us into our model events. That leads us into the StarCraft Evolution SC Evo number 17. Again, speaking of circuits, the 2v2 circuit is now back up and running. The SC Evo circuit also back up and running as well. Bearing in mind that we are still kind of waiting, for the event to... Sorry, we're still waiting for the arcade to open up again to allow for, tournaments to, to allow for patches to be implemented and to allow for the circuit to really hit full force. But that isn't available at the moment. Soon TM, Pappy. Soon TM will be able to, update, patch, and make use of the arcade again. One day, smooch. But until then, the current state of SC Evo is a little bit more stagnant. Hasn't been updated in quite some time. And again, there are plans for future updates later on down the line. First things first, we do have number 17, Solar. Solar, he had a deep run, winning the entire event, taking down Honak, taking down Kiwian, taking down Tasia 3-0, taking down Classic 3-0 in the grand finals. Very impressive run here by Solar. We did cover this event ourselves, if you recall. We did cast it in English, and Solar was hyper aggressive and hyper cheesy. I will say that. Like Solar, he was very in the face of Classic. That was a very fast best of 5 finals. Very, very fast finals. So Classic, I would say, came in as the favorite player. Classic is the best player in StarCraft Evolution. Solar, he's a relatively new addition. I say relatively new. Solar, he competed in the Murloc King SC Evo event, and he competed in the last couple of SC Evo events as well. I want to say he was invited to a couple of show matches. So Solar, he is one of the newer players indoctrinated into SC Evo, but it's been like 1 or 2 months at this point. It's been like 1 or 2 months, and Solar has been excelling. And again, Solar had a hyper aggressive series against Classic. I still favor Classic in standard games, but he did not get a standard game in this finals. No standard game. Classic took down Milky Cow, took down Beyond to make it to Z finals, and did fall to Solar. So congratulations to Solar. Congratulations. Leads us into number 18, which is not updated on Wikipedia yet. We'll be casting this ourselves eventually. And this was... Oh, my apologies. This did not occur. It looks like maybe this was rescheduled because there's no date on Wikipedia, and the challenge page is blank.
Like last minute.
Yeah, so in the future, there's going to be the SC Evo number 18. It looks like it has been rescheduled to an unconfirmed later date. We'll keep you guys updated on that next tournament. Up next, though, we did have the Enki Epic Series number 7. We did have that best of 9 between Hero and Rogue. Again, we covered this event ourselves not too long ago. This was also an SC Evolution, bear that in mind, and it did go 5-3 in favor of Hero. I was very impressed that Rogue was able to hold his own. If you remember, Hero and Rogue are very inexperienced in StarCraft Evolution, so they were both trying to figure it out. It was a very clunky series. This is like looking at this bracket score, it's like, oh yeah, Hero's favored, but remember, this is SC Evo, and again, both players very inexperienced. So even though these players are very high caliber in StarCraft 2, in StarCraft Evolution, you could tell like they were like trying to figure things out, like testing things that could and couldn't work, and making mistakes as well, forgetting upgrades. Like, again, very messy series, still very fun though. Congratulations, Hero. Congratulations, as Hero does claim the series over Rogue. GG. And again, this is a monthly tournament. Shout out to Enki. Enki is a Spanish caster. Enki is a fellow CranKy Duckling, and he does always allow us to cover his events whenever they do take place. So I did cover it in English not too long ago. That leads us into the patch clash number 10 and 11. This is a little bit different. This is also a mod. That's the patch mod. Patches, he is a very passionate map maker and also has created a mod with his own changes, with a plethora of changes. Honestly, it's daunting. It's very, very daunting looking at the mod and seeing just how different it is, with like almost every unit has its own upgrade, has its own little tweaks and changes. It's a very, very ambitious mod, especially when it comes to the mid to late game, like mid game and late game. He also made his own tweaks to the Cyclone, to Storm, to the Ghost, EMPs. Like, he's had a lot of changes added here. A lot of changes, a lot of adjustments. And has been pushing this mod quite a bit, hosting events on a regular basis. And coming into this, we did have number 10. We did have our 5.4K patch clash. In this event, we did have a GG Machine. Now, we're gonna have to fix this up. I don't know if he played Zerg. Oh. Okay, interesting. So typically, big pro players like GG Machine and Mixu off race. They usually do off race for this event, just because their main races are above 5.4K, which is why you see GG Machine played Protoss. He played Protoss initially, he beat Foxer 2-1, he beat Inexorable 2-0, but it looks like in the upper bracket finals, both players, they did come to an agreement to play their main races. You can see here on the Wikipedia, it says that because their main race and Mars are close enough, they did decide to play their main races. And GG Machine beat Mixu 2-1. It looks like they had the same rationale for the finals as well, with GG Machine taking down Foxer 2-0 as well. I would say there is a bit of a skill gap between GG Machine and Foxer, and I don't know if that's the fairest to have them play their main races, but they made the decision. Congratulations to GG Machine. Comes out on top 2-0 over Foxer. Best of 3 finals? Oh, sorry, one map advantage. Technically, that should be a 5-0 best of 5. Sorry, 5-0. 3-0. 3-0 best of 5. Looks like he just played with a 1 map advantage, so that's a little bit messy. It's but congratulations. Congratulations. Oh wait, no. Wait, what? Grand finals are best of 5, best of 3 if the lower finalist wins the first series. Oh. Okay. Interesting. They have their own little quirk to it. But regardless, congratulations, GG Machine. That leads us into the next event, number 11. Number 11, we did not have the return of GG Machine, unfortunately. We did have Foxer competing again, and Inexorable competing again. No Mixu. Yeah, no Mixu, no GG Machine. So instead, Inexorable popped off. It looks like the race of Foxer wasn't added. I would imagine he was playing Protoss, but it looks like there was no official cast. Oh, okay. So there's no official cast, so there's no one's exactly aware of what race Foxer played, without asking Foxer and Inexorable themselves and their opponents. But regardless, congratulations to Inexorable, as it does take down Foxer 3-0 in the finals, coming out on top. GG. Also, I made the mistake. I did say that I can't see Mixu. Mixu, he went down in the first round to Faye in a 2-0 fashion. So GG well played. Inexorable does come out on top. That led us into the Invitational, the Patch Clash Invitational, which we did actually cast the first round of. It was a big event. Every series was casted, and at the time, unfortunately, we weren't able to commit to the entire broadcast. Do apologize for that, but I was working off of like 2 hours of sleep. Again, that was kind of in the midst of all the chaos was happening IRL, so unfortunately I just wasn't able to commit to a full broadcast here, and we did cast the first round. In the first round, we had Inexorable taking down Green Nerds at 3-2, we had Akeron taking down Airbest at 3-0, Mixu took down Kinpatch 3-2, and Pig took down Soon 3-0 as well. Really impressive to see El Chanchito popping off here. Like, Pig, he usually does cast, he doesn't really compete too much. He does play in like the Pig style, sorry, in the Stegosaurus Cup. Pegastar Cup does compete in Pegastar Cup on a weekly basis, and does compete in these patch clashes as well. But yeah, he popped off. He took down Soon 3-0, took down Mixu 3-0. He did go back and forth with that get on, but a very, very impressive run here by Pig. Very impressive to take down a get on. Bearing in mind, this is not regular SC2, this is the custom mod with so many changes, but really cool to see Pig adapting to those changes and making use of them, I would imagine, against a get on. GG. GG all played. Pig does win 4-2 over at Gedon, becoming the Patch Clash Invitational #1 champion. Congratulations. Congratulations to Pig. GG. That leads us into our amateur events. Again, we have a lot of catching up to do. We have the Amateur Every League Tournament #3, an event that I'm not very familiar with, but looks like, I guess, it was open to all leagues, I guess.
That was one of the end of the year tournaments. They also had some team games as well.
Yeah. So a little bit more fun. Players that I'm not really familiar with here. We had Itzwill make it all the way to the finals, and actually win the finals as well over Ibery 3-1. So GG all played to our Terran player here. Again, this was an end of year event on the 21st of December, just a little bit more laid back, a little bit more fun. Then we had our first round of weeklies for 2026. We had the Initiate Weekly. This is for those between the leagues of Bronze and Platinum. Unfortunately, only 2 players did show up. We had Dollar Tree Dipper and Leaked Deer facing off. Dollar Tree took down Leaked Deer 3-1 in the finals, as they were the only players to compete. GG. Again, start of the year, maybe a little bit less participation. I say that. Up next, we did have the Veteran Edition, Diamond 3 to Diamond 2. A lot more participation here, and a lot more regulars, actually. There's Pretty Fly. We have Ureha as well, a Korean Zerg player. Looks like he's off racing. I believe his main race is Protoss, if I remember correctly. Have to double check for our tournaments, but did take down Pretty Fly 3-0 in the finals. GG here to Ureha does come out on top. That leads us into the Prestige event for Diamond 1 to Masters 2. Here we had our regulars. We have Medic Jr., Steez, we have Hittich, Beast as well, Defiance, Zigger, Boreal. In the end, Beast actually made it to the finals, but did not win. Took down Hittich 2-1 initially. It took down Medic Jr., but lost in the rematch to Hittich 3-0. Big comeback there from Hittich, coming in from the lower bracket. GG, well played. A very impressive run there by Hittich. That leads us into the Elite event. This is for the GMs, and here we had Sure, I think that's an alias, but I believe we are familiar with that person. Ateshi played. No, never mind. Walkovers. Ateshi signed up, checked in, didn't compete. So Ateshi did not compete. Instead, we had Sure taking down Ateshi, or getting the walkover win, and taking down Nazov as well. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Zure for coming out on top. That leads us into the Amateur League Monthly Tournament number 47. Okay, so here we had our monthlies. Similarly, thankfully, we did have a bit of a higher turnout here. This time we had Checo TV takes down Dracthul 3-0 in the Initiate Tournament. In the Veteran events, we did have Sunmok, the Terran player, take down Heyman 3-2, went all the way to the ace match. Yo, I see Choi Galaxy also competed. Let's go. I see Old Lady, possibly May. See a lot of regulars here, but Sunmok ends up winning. Player that I'm not very familiar with, but does win 3-2 in the finals. Leads us into the Prestige tournament. Here we had a Beast once again make it to the finals. Went down to Steez initially, but does win in the rematch 3-2. Just barely does take down Steez in those finals. GG, well played. The Beast gets his revenge. Did come second place last time, but here he comes first place. Meanwhile, here in the grand finals, we had Nickrat versus Hatsu. Nickrat does take down Hatsu 3-0 to become our elite champion. GG, well played. At least we had a series. It's quite often that we don't even get any matches played, but congratulations to Nickrat. That leads us into our amateur event, Masters 1 Open number 99. This was the final amateur event of the year of 2025, and this was the very first time that Beast actually won a Masters 1 Open. Beast has been a bit of a Kong. Always a bridesmaid, never the bride. I want to say like 5 second places, something like that, but an insane amount of second places. Beast was never able to quite get that win until this monthly. For the first time, at the very end of 2025, able to break that curse, takes down Zigger 2-1, takes down Straw Hats at 2-1, and takes down Set 3-1. Was not easy. We saw a lot of ace matches there, but did end up winning in a more dominant fashion. And finally, Beast wins a Master Swan Open. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Beast. Does come out on top. Shout out to Set. Set did make it to the finals, but barely did not make it to the ace match. So congratulations to Beast. Congratulations. That leads us into a newer event. So this is the Winter Warp Gate Amateur number 1. Looks like it's an event run by Ladder Legends. It's the first of many, I would hope. It's still uncertain whether this is going to be a weekly or a monthly. We yet to see, yet to confirm. But the event itself, I believe, is MMR capped. Yes, MMR capped at 4.5k MMR. That's actually a lower cap than our event. Master One Open is for 4.7k players. This is 4.5. So this is around M3, like Masters 3, very low M2, like very low M2 level, and below. Here we had some regulars. I see Set. Hey, Set, he was competing there. I see Hobo Bobo as well. They don't have their flags. We'll have to come in and fix that, actually. We'll have to but there's Hobo Bobo. What other players do we recognize? Not many. I see Calixo. I see Calixo. I see Zigger, Alfear, Smite Steel. True. Defiance. So there's a decent amount of regulars. But regardless, we had Lucifer. Lucifer takes down Zezwan, takes down Set, takes down Battle Beast as well. I'll be honest, I thought Lucifer was a bit of a higher tier player, but I might be thinking of a different Lucifer. True. Might be thinking of a different one. Regardless, does beat Battle Beast 3-1 in the finals. Congratulations here to Lucifer, as it does win the first Winter Warp Gate event, and again, I'm sure many more to come in the future. That leads us into our show matches, into our big show matches. There's a lot to get into. Okay. Aye, baby. First, we had the 3D Community New Year Challenge. Here we had for the CIS region players from Russia, players from Ukraine as well, players from Belarus, all taking part, all competing. We had some high caliber players here. We had Young Yakov. He takes down Defmars 3-0 in the finals. I will say I'm impressed that Ilsop took a map off of Young Yakov. We saw Nickrak take a map as well. I'm surprised that Defmars made it to the finals. I do rate some of these other players higher. Shameless. I rate Shameless higher. I rate Milky Cow higher as well. So for Defmars to beat Shameless and Milky Cow as well, that's crazy. That's wild. Okay. that's insanely impressive. It's a crazy upset there. Defmars does go down to the finals 3-0, which is expected. But I would have said that Milky Cow taking him down 3-0 and Shameless especially beating him 3-0 was also more expected in my eyes, at least. So yeah, crazy to see Defmars popping off. Does fall to Young Yakov, but very impressive for him to make it to the finals. GG, well played. Again, this was just a New Year event, or end of year 2025 event. Meanwhile, that leads us into the Rake versus HackErIsTop show match. This is a fun best of 7 show match between Rake and HackErIsTop. This was in SE2, not in StarCraft Evolution, but was very chaotic. We saw a lot of cheese, a lot of shenanigans, a lot of nonsense. A lot of nonsense taking part there. Rake did end up beating HackErIsTop 4-2 in favor of Rake. But again, a very fun, a very silly show match. Also end of year as well. Do recommend it. It was a lot of fun. Aye. That leads us into the Hungarian Pro Series, the Lapo Cup. Here we go. When it comes to the Hungarian region, we do typically look at players like PSZ, and Nihed. They're kind of like the top 2 players in Hungary, at least in my eyes, and they did face off in the grand finals. Personally, I'm not really too certain as to who's higher rated than who, but PSZ does take down Nihed 3-1 in the finals. Congratulations, as again, this was purely a Hungarian event, also end of year, wrapping up on the 4th of January. So congratulations to PSZ. And again, it's been really cool to see a more Hungarian StarCraft. We covered all the time here, but there's been a decent chunk of just purely Hungarian events trying to foster and grow the Hungarian scene. Best of luck. It's really cool to see. I'm sure Stars Girl is also a big part of that as well. That leads us into the Sunrise Cup 2025 Grand Final. Sunrise Cup is a weekly Chinese tournament for the Chinese region, and it looks like we have an end-of-year event. We have invited players and also qualifiers as well. The best of the best in China are going to be facing off. Unfortunately, we had a couple of walkovers. I would rate Nanami very high. I might even rate Nanami higher than Cyan, I'll be honest. But Cyan takes down Oriana, Jolua Loves takes down Nanyu, takes down Young Zest. Jesus. Cyan went on a really hard part of the bracket. Like, these are all the big boys. Like, they're all here. Young Zest, Nanyu, Oriana, Jolo Loves. We're only missing like Millennium Fox, right? Like, I would say Millennium Fox and Nanami, Nanami Chiaki. But Nanami forfeited in the semis. I would have loved to have seen Nanami go up against Cyan. Fun fact, Ear and Jolo Loves are they were the only players to take maps off of Cyan. But congratulations to Lancer, aka Cyan, for claiming the entire event and for becoming our end of year champion for the Sunrise Cup. GG. GG, well played. I still don't know if he's switched back to Cyan. I'll be honest, I have seen some of the Chinese members of the community still refer him to Cyan, but that might just be because, you know, that's what they knew him as for a long time. So they keep calling him that.
I believe in the last like official tournament he played, like a big tournament, I don't remember which one it was, he actually did use Cyan, so he may be back.
But that was I'm pretty sure that was a Chinese event. Which is why I was mentioning that that some of the Chinese like members of the community, like, they still just refer to him as Cyan. So I don't know if that's like permanent or not. We'll find out eventually. For now, though, a lot of these events have been referring him as Cyan again. But like, I don't know if I trust these, because if you remember, like, especially for Chinese events, they always like, sometimes they say Nanyu, sometimes they have like Chinese characters. Silky as well, they put him as like Chinese characters. Or didn't Silky like change his name recently to like Super Kitty or something as well? Like this like I don't know if I trust it too much. Millennium folks, they also like mix and match his name, like Young Zest, Potato, like they mix and match. Like for like when it comes to a lot of these Chinese events, especially if you look at the team leagues as well, like they're very inconsistent.
Here's the PSA to the players: when you pick a name, just stick to it. Unless it's like really offensive or something, just stick to a name, like branding, okay?
Yeah, I'm sure Kura's called on it as well. But like whenever we went through like the Elpis Team League or some of the other Chinese events, like again, like they would always like mix and match between Chinese characters or Romanized like letters or like old IDs or new IDs. Like it's very inconsistent with a lot of Chinese players. Shaking my head. Shaking my head. Yeah. But with that leads us into the SEC Friends Cup 2026 January edition. Does this mean it's going to be a monthly tournament? Hard to say. Hard to say. Last year we had a couple of these events in July, August, October, and November. So whether they do this monthly or just sporadically, hard to say. But here we had Young Zest. Young Zest, he did go on a tear here. He dropped one map to, I want to say that's Millennium Fox. If I ever see a Terran player with Chinese characters, I'm just assuming it's Millennium Fox at this point. Like, hold on. Translates. Yep, there you go. So, Young Zest takes down Millennium Fox 4-1 in the finals. Millennium Fox, of course, is a younger up-and-comer. We've had our eyes on him for quite some time, and he has been looking very impressive as of late. Did take a map, but only a single map, but the only player to do so. I mean, outside of that, Young Zest is the highest-rated player in this event, so congratulations to Young Zest. Does come out on top, does claim the win. GG. GG, well played. Speaking of Elpis Invitational 2026 Winter, Elpis is a Chinese team. They have been running their own team league, which wrapped up a couple of weeks ago, but now it looks like they had an end-of-year kind of tournament. So we had an Invitational. Who was invited? We had Oriana, Restart, Jolo Loves, Lemon, Miggy, SCV, and someone. Oh, this is a clear example, by the way. We just saw Nanami Chiaki in the Sunrise Cup event. Who's that Protoss player with Chinese characters in the bracket playing against Oriana in the first round? That's Nanami. Nanami, they just use Chinese characters here. So again, like they always keep mixing it up.
I like the way you phrase it, like, who's this player? It's like, what's this Pokemon?
Yeah.
It's just
they
like,
just keep
you just have to guess by the shape, you know, this is which player it is.
God damn it. So yes, that's Nanami, so well worth being there. We didn't get a result. Maybe that's a walkover. Maybe that's why. Because I would rate Nanami over Oriana. No, yeah, wait. Nanami did advance on. So unfortunately, no score was reported there. Maybe it was a walkover. But Nami did make it into the semifinals, went down to Lemon. Lemon is coming in as the favorite player for sure, and Lemon does claim the win. This was mainly an Elpis event, but Jolo Loves was also invited outside of Elpis. And we had Miggy. Miggy actually has been having some really good results as of late, takes down SCV, but does fall to Lemon in those finals. GG. Fun fact, best of 5 finals, but it was a 2-0. Yeah. God damn it. Regardless, congratulations to Lemon for claiming the win and for becoming the winter champion for the Elpis Invitational. That leads us into, from China, we head over to the Japanese region. Legacy Weekly Japan, the longest running weekly tournament out there. We have the Japan 483 Open. Here we had, where's Tapioca? Where's Tapioca? Not here, actually. Okay, no Tapioca. We had Vaishravanya, actually, instead, taking down Antaro Example, taking down Noah Shirayuki, 2-1 in the finals. Congratulations to Vaishravanya. Sayak went down early on to Crimson. Very impressive play there by Crimson, by the way. And again, God, is that Tapioca, actually? Going down to Vaishravanya in the quarterfinals? Let's see.
By the way, to the viewers, there's a note.
Yes.
I will never convince both Yaku and Lai that he's not called Vaishravanya. There's no nya there. I don't know where they found that.
No, there is. It sounds better than Vaishravanya, okay? Like, what is that? Vaishravanya?
I'm pretty sure that's like a god in Hinduism.
Nah, it's Vaishravanya, okay? That just makes sense. It just feels good to say. Feels good. But that was Tapioca, actually. So Boba went down to Vaishravanya 2-0, actually, early on. Very impressive. Este Vaishravanya, papi. Ay. You know what? I'll message him. I'll tell him to add like an accent to his end. I'll tell him to fix his name.
Like at the nya, and then like there's gonna like be like a tilde after, so it's like, you know, like he's like a cat.
Exactly. It's very Japanese, very neko. There you go. Speaking of Tapioca, gets his revenge. So we go into the 430. Sorry, wait, what? 484 Open. Girl, are you seeing what I'm seeing? It's the look at the URL.
Yep, I did see that. Don't worry about it.
God.
Nothing to see here.
God damn it! I was so confused.
Nothing to see here.
For those that are curious, this is the 484 Open, but the URL is Open 439 because that makes sense. Does make sense. But Boba gets his revenge. Tapioca Boba does take down Kitune 2-0, takes down Vaishravanya 2-0, and Noah Shirayuki as well. For those that are curious who maybe don't follow the Japanese region too much, Tapioca is kind of like the new rising star in Japan, and I would say is the best player in Japan. I would also say that's why it was very impressive and really impressive and I would say even upset that Vaishravanya took him down in the previous week, but here this is kind of what we expect. 2-0s all around. Not a single map lost here for Tapioca. So again, like this is kind of like the most recent kind of like shift. I say most recent shift, it happened like a year ago, maybe like 6 months, like around 6 months ago, relatively recently, but like we have this new force, Bubble Tea is all the craze now. 2-0 over Shirayuki. GG.
Now I want
GG,
some
well
bubble
played.
tea.
Yeah, every time you see Tapioca, it's all about that bubble tea. Speaking of, we then had the Weekly Japan 485 Open, and once again, we got some Baba. We got some Baba. Tapioca takes down Vaishravanya 2-0, takes down Crimson 2-0, and takes down Noah Shirayuki 2-0 in the finals as well. Again, this is kind of what we expect. This is the dominant force in Japan. Baba. GG all played. That leads us into the 486 Open, and we have a bit of a shift here, just like we had 3 weeks ago at this point. Vaishravanya takes down Tapioca 2-0 in the finals. So over the past 4 weeks, we've had a bit of a back and forth for the most part. I mean, yeah, back and forth. 2 wins to Vaishravanya, 2 wins to Tapioca. GG, well played. But we do have a bit of a back and forth rivalry occurring between these two players. Most recently, of course, Vaishravani does come out on top. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into the Awardy TV Christmas Eve show match. Again, there were a bunch of show matches that Awardy did kind of scramble together around Christmas, and we have quite a lot to get into. So we have the Christmas Eve games. Again, just show matches, no brackets. We had just a bunch of invited players. I believe just like on the day even, he was like, yo, who can play? And he was able to scramble together and get Geralt, Young Yakov, Spirit Mana, Shin, Percival, Creator, and Scarlet. Okay, so coming into this, Geralt takes down Young Yakov 3-0. I would say that's a really impressive result. I would say that Young Yakov has been looking a little bit more impressive as of late and has been getting better results and has been looking more in form. So for Geralt to take him down 3-0 is insanely impressive. So big win there for Geralt. That leads us to Mana versus Spirit. We just mentioned Spirit about how he was missing from the 2v2 event and has been MIA since this year, I should say. But this was back December 25th. Back Christmas Day, December 25th. We had Mana taking down Spirit at 3-1. That's a big win for Mana, a crazy win actually. I mean, again, Mana, he's one of those players that is one of the best Protoss players in the world, straight up. Takes on Spirit 3-1. GG. GG, well played. Very impressive performance there by Mana. That leads us into Shin versus Percival. Shin takes down Percival 3-1 in that show match. I would say that's a little bit of a lopsided series. I'm a little bit surprised that they picked Percival to go up against Shin there and not Creator, for example. Actually, yeah, looking at this, I would have said that Shin would have been a better pairing against Creator and Percival would have been a better pairing against Scarlet. So a little bit more one-sided here. And then Creator takes down Scarlet 3-1 in the final show match. So interesting pairings, interesting lineups. I would have shifted some of these around a little bit, but regardless, GG. GG, well played. To our 4 show matches. That leads us into the Awardy TV Christmas Day events, Christmas Day games 2025. Where we did have a bracket. We actually had a bracket. Okay, we had a bracket. We had 8 players. 8 players invited. We had a Classic, Hero, Max, Beyond, Clem, Cure, Rainer, and Solar. Jesus. Despite, I mean, the prize pool is pretty hefty, $1,500. And again, the players here, these are the best players in the world. Like, I said the same thing about the Thunderfire event, if you remember, but straight up, like, who are we missing? We're missing, what, Maru for the Terrans? We're missing no one for the Protoss, and we're missing Serral for Zerg. But, like, that's it, right? Like, we're missing Serral and Maru, and that's kind of it. Like, these are the best players here. You don't get better than what we have invited, so crazy caliber of play. We had a Solar taking down Beyond 3-2. We had Classic taking down Clem 3-2. Again, Classic, he is nowadays probably like one of the more reliable players to actually cause upsets and bring Clem down, more so than Hero and Max when it comes to PvT. So very well done there by Classic. Does, I would say, still causing a bit of an upset, but again, Classic's one to do that. Hero takes on Cure, and Max takes down Rainer 3-1. Impressive play there by Max. Again, we're not really going to see much of Rainer versus Max because Rainer doesn't play in online tournaments, or I should say, Rainer doesn't play in online Open Cups, which is where Max does often compete. So a bit of a rarer matchup there. Really impressive to see Max bring him down 3-1. That leads us into the semifinals. Solar takes down Classic 4-2. Hero takes down Max 4-0, and then Hero takes down Solar 4-1. I would have said coming into this that Clem was favored to win the entire tournament, but Classic had the highest chance to bring him down. So seeding wise, a little bit unlucky for Clem. Give Clem anyone else, and he's much more heavily favored, but Classic specifically kind of has had his number in recent months. So GG, congratulations to Hero for taking down Cure, Max, and Solar, and for thankfully not facing someone like Clem or Classic in the finals. GG. GG, well played. Hero does come out on top in the Awardy TV Christmas Day games. That leads us into the Big Brain Bass, the return of the Big Brain Bass as well in 2026. It's been a while. It's been quite some time since the last Big Brain Bass. I want to say it was like, what, back in June? Sorry, it was before the December event. It would have been number 100. Well, it was back in August, sorry. So it was back in August. So it's been a long time since we've had regular Big Bang bouts. Really cool to see them making the return. And coming into this, we did have Trigger versus Spirit. We had Loco versus Doomrat. So we had Jumi versus Young Yakov. So 3 best ofs here. The fun one, the good one, the basilisk one. Interesting. Didn't realize.
Yeah, they
always had those subtitles?
No, they officially started actually theming the matches around this. This is now
Okay,
official
okay.
how they are called.
Okay. So officially, the fun one, Loco takes on Doomrat 3-0. We have the good one, which is Jumi takes on Yang Yakov 3-0 as well. Once again, Yang Yakov struggling. He went down to Geralt 3-0, goes down to Jumi 3-0 here as well. Yeah, some surprising results here. I expect more from Yang Yakov, and he's been struggling. Has been struggling, at least around Christmas. Meanwhile, we had Trigger taking down Spirit 3-1. Once again, Spirit, he went down to Mana earlier. Here, going down to Trigger. Spirit also having a bit of a harder time as of late. But congratulations to Trigger, who has been excelling. To Trigger. That leads us into big rounds number 103. Likewise, we had Raynor versus Scarlet, Pi versus Angrath, and Nicorette versus Laser. Okay. Here we had Angrath. Angrath, he went down to Pi, beat him. Okay, Pi takes down Angrath 3-2. Very impressive, as it looks like they had like an off-race match or something. Or did they have a draw? They had a draw. They had a tie. They had a draw in Ruby Rock, which is crazy, by the way. But Pi does take down Angrath 3-2 with 6 games in their best of 5. Crazy, man, crazy. We had Nicorette taking down Laser 3-1, which is kind of what we expect. Laser did take a big break from StarCraft, recently came back, but still finding his footing, so Nicorette does bring him down. And then we had Raynor taking down Scarlet. Raynor did off-race his Protoss 1 game, which is the one time that Scarlet won. Outside of that, Raynor brought it back and took down Scarlet with 3 games consecutively. GG. GG well played here to Raynor. That leads us into the Roddy Stream Rumble number 6. I believe this was more of an impromptu tournament, impromptu kind of like series of show matches, just kind of like to end the year. This was on the 31st of December and the 1st of January. Kind of crossed over. So we had Takua. Takua takes down Camo Pillbox 3-0. We had Patches taking down Magna 3-2. Very close, very clutch series. Oh, and Roddy actually had a show match against Special. That's kind of crazy. But Juanito takes down Rotterdam 3-0 in the final show match. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Juanito, to Takua, and to Patches as well. As again, this was more of a fun show match. It looks like there wasn't even any prize money in the special Rotterdam show match, actually. Okay. no prize money there. But regardless, a fun show match nonetheless. That leads us into the Soup Invitational. This was really cool just because Soup did discontinue their tournaments, right? The Supers, the Super Sevens and the Super Events, they were discontinued. We haven't had them in quite some time. So really cool to see an end of year or beginning of year event, 7th to the 10th of January. So 3-day event here. We had the group stage into the playoffs. Okay, so Creator, Cure, Gumiho, and Shin. 2 Terrans, 1 Protoss, 1 Zerg. I would say the skill level of these players is pretty close skill level here between all these players. We'll see how they performed, as Shin, he came out first place in the group stage, followed by Creator, Cure, and Gumiho at the end. I would say that does kind of make sense in the sense that Gumiho has been struggling that much more. Gumiho is not as active as all these other players. He does not compete in as many tournaments, so his form is he's not as in form. Shin takes down Gumiho 3-0. Shin takes down Creator 3-0. Oh my god, very impressive run there at a Shin in the playoffs. I would have still expected to see Creator pose a bigger threat here, but no, Shin, he 3-0s everyone and is going to be our champion. Congratulations to Shin, shout out to Creator for 2nd place, and a shout out to Gumiho and Cure for 3rd and 4th place respectively. GG, well played. Oh, I just realized that the way that they determined, it was a 4-way tie. Shin, Creator, and Cure in the group stage. They actually had a 4-way tie there. And Shin, the only reason why he got first seed was coin toss. That's crazy. I don't think I've seen that before. How do they break it? Usually they'd have a series to break that or something, like, but no, they just like a best of 1 to break the tie, but they just flipped a coin. Okay. Okay, sure. Why not? Oh. Why not, Bobby? Why not? As that leads us into the OSC events. Into our OSC events again, quite a lot to catch up on. Initially, we have the OSC weekly, the OSC King of the Hill weekly number 234. I believe this is the first one of the year. No, sorry, this was the last one of 2025, and we actually haven't had one this year, not yet. For those that are curious, this is a King of the Hill format, best of ones. Winner stays on, loser is eliminated. It allows for these big win streaks, and the first player to go on one is Trigger. Trigger takes down Nickrat, Jumi, Sebestus, Milky Cow, and Cristiano. 5 wins in a row before Percival does stand in his way. Percival is the player to break that win streak. He stops Trigger, he takes down GG Machine, but it's a very short win streak because Geralt shows up and actually goes on a tear himself. Geralt takes down Percival, Art, Lelix, Airbus Black, Middle VK, Moja, Creature, Mini Zerg, and doesn't lose. He forced a Mini Zerg. So takes down Creature before finally falling to Mini Zerg. That's a big win for Mini Zerg, by the way. Mini Zerg, he is a very young player. He's a young up-and-comer who still has a ways to go, still has a lot of room for improvements. So that's why it's really cool to see him take down Geralt, of all players. A lesser known player that still has a lot to prove, still has a lot to grow. A little bit short-lived, he falls to Cham. Cham takes down Minizerg, takes down Hydra. Cham falls to Shameless. Then Geralt gets revived, and then I believe Nickrat also gets revived as well. Usually we don't have revive matches, but they do take place if we run out of players. If we run out of players, so in the end, Geralt takes down Shameless and Geralt takes down Nickrat. Geralt walks away with as the King of the Hill, as the last player standing. So GG well played there for Geralt. That leads us into the OSC 2025 mid-season playoffs number 2. This took months to conclude. It took a very, very long time, but in the end, we finally have our champion. Spirit took down Cure 3-2. Beyond took down Cristiano 3-2. Gee, a lot of ace matches. Beyond took down Spirit. That led us here into the low bracket finals. Max took down Beyond, and Max took down Solar in the rematch. Went all the way to Game 7. Wow, went all the way to Game 7. Solar had a 1-point advantage, but Max for in my brain, I thought this was the championship. But Max, he does become our mid-season champion. Congratulations. Congratulations. He's won the end-of-year championship, I want to say twice at this point. Maybe just once, maybe just twice. But here, comes out on top, gets a bunch of points, and will be in good standing coming into the end-of-year event. Speaking of the end of year events, we did have a bunch of essentially qualifiers for it. The challenger brackets, I think initially we had just some regular brackets, but Dave did sponsor and did step in to be able to fund some extra brackets, I believe. So we had the Dave Testa Open Challenger bracket number 1. Where we did have players qualifying for the big end-of-year final OSC tournament. Mana takes down Hydra 1-0, takes down Minizerg 2-0, takes down GG Machine. Mana walks out without a single scratch. No, a single map did drop here, so Mana, he does qualify. Then we had Art, Polish Art, not Russian Art, but Art does take down Lelix, takes down MinVK to also make it through, and the final player was GG Machine over Mindle as well. So we had our first 3 players making it through. Then we had the second challenger brackets. Here we had Sebestus. Sebestus takes down Lunacy, F2 Click, and Art, Russian Art. So Sebestus does qualify, does make it through, and Milky Cow does the same, taking down Azura, taking down Honmono, taking down Mini Zerg as well. So congratulations to Sebestus and Milky Cow. Looks like this time only 2 qualifying matches. There was no third place match. That led us into the Challenger Bracket A. Again, these are the regular Challenger Brackets that didn't initially get sponsored by Dave. Here we had Trigger. Trigger, he did qualify over Lelix 3-0. We had Baby Marine also qualifying over Lelix 3-0 as well. We had Trigger and Baby Marine. We then had Este Chamaco takes down Art, takes down Mindo VK. We've been seeing a lot of Mindo in these brackets. I have Mini Zerg as well. They've been on the grind, but barely not making it through. Cham qualifies. Following him, we do have Lemon. Lemon takes down Ragnar, takes down Mini Zerg as well, 3-2. Lemon also qualifies. And Mindle VK finally qualifies as well. Yo, shout out to Mindle, takes down Mini Zerg 3-0. I don't want to gloss over it. I'm very impressed that Mini Zerg went all the way to the ace match against Lemon. Like, I rate Lemon very highly, so to see Mini Zerg take some maps, very impressive. GG. GG, well played. And that leads us into the final bracket, Bracket C. 2 qualifying matches left. We had Art, this time the Russian Art, so both Arts made it through. Art takes down Lelix, Art takes down Nice. 3-2 in a best of 5 finals to qualify. And Nice fails to qualify in that final match. He falls to Mixu, 3-1. So Art and Mixu, they make it through into the main event. The final players to make it through into the into the OSC Championship. Congratulations. When it comes to the championship bracket, we'll be going over it next week. Again, there's just a lot of matches to go through. A lot of matches, man. Oh, as that leads us into our weekly tournaments. Okay, once again, we have a lot of catching up to do when it comes to the weeklies. When it comes to this week's events, we'll be catching up with that next week, just because there are so many brackets to go through. Up first, we had Sparkling Tuna Cup number 116. This was the final Open Cup of 2025 from us. Here we had a pretty insane turnout, I will say, with Björn. Björn takes down Captain Fish 2-0, takes down Hon Mono, takes down Percival 2-1, went all the way to the ace match, and takes down Cristiano 3-1 in the finals. Congratulations to Björn, as he's one of our more regulars. Cristiano had a really impressive performance to take down Skillus to make it to the finals, so shout out to Cristiano. I was favoring Skillus to be the finalist, but Cristiano took him down. GG. GG, well played. And that led us into the final CranKy Duckling event of 2025, the December finals. Remember, we only had 4 monthly finals last year because of a very generous donation in the chat. So we had $2,000 donated, and that was split between 4 monthly finals. We had December, November, October, and September. 4 months of monthly finals. Coming into 2026, we're going to go back to purely weekly tournaments, unless we can grow our Patreon to be able to host monthly finals again. For now, though, just weeklies. And here we had the end of year events. Jesus, I remember the seeding here. We had Pure Protoss versus Pure Terran. We had Cristiano, Classic, Trigger, Skillus, Percival, Ryung, Björn, and Nicaract. I mean, because of the seeding, because of the way the bracket turned out, it did confirm we had a non-mirror matchup finals, but until then we had purely mirror matchups. Classic 2-0s Cristiano, Classic 3-0s Trigger, Percival 2-0s Ryung, and Percival takes down Björn 3-2. It was a very close series. Went all the way to the ace match. Percival, he barely clutched it out. I would say that Percival versus Björn was the best series of the entire tournament. 100% was the best series of the tournament. I do recommend checking out the VODs over on YouTube. We just had a restream or a rerun of that event just to make sure it's all on YouTube. And Percival takes down Björn. And then we had a crazy upset result here. Percival takes down Classic 3-1 in the finals. Classic was heavily favored. He is straight up top 3 Protoss in the world, alongside Hero, alongside Max. He's top 3, arguably top 2. You can even make an argument for top 1. Like Classic, he's one of the best Protoss players in the world. So for Percival to bring him down 3-1 in the best of 5 finals was crazy, man. It was a crazy result. A very impressive play. Percival, he was hyper aggressive. A lot of 2 base all-ins, a lot of proxy play, a lot of hyper aggressive and very intense builds, and he did take down Classic 3-1. GG, well played. Congratulations to Percival, as he was our final Tuna Cup champion of 2025. What a way to win it, especially considering I remember checking, like, I think that was his only win as well. Like, he had never won a weekly up until that point. So again, what a way to get your first win, right? That was his first Tuna Cup win, and it happened to be the monthly finals as well, the end of year finals. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into the Wardy TV Monday number 66. So this is going to be a plethora of weekly Open Cups. Let's go, as we did have our regulars here, but a really impressive run by a Laser. If you remember, a Laser, he had a really hard time in the Christmas show match. At the time I mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, like this is expected. I think it was Nicaract. I think Nicaract beat a Laser like 3-0 or 3-1. And I was like, oh no, yeah, like Alasia's been struggling a little bit recently, but no, Alasia in this tournament, he popped off. 2-1 over Trigger, 2-0 over SHIN, 2-0 over Max. Crazy result here by Alasia. Again, Alasia, he hasn't been back for that long, so to see him to make it all the way to the finals here, what it comes down to, though, is can he replicate the success, right? Can he replicate this? Is this a one-off thing or not? Regardless, really impressive play. Unfortunately, we did not cast this series. We did not cast this tournament, so I don't know how these matches played out. But even in the finals, went to the ace match. Like, that's insane. That's insane to see a Laser go all the way to Game 5 against Classic. Very impressive. Very impressive play there by a Laser. As I think that was the final, one of the final events of the year. That leads us into the Wardy TV Monday number 67. Here we did have our regulars once again. This time, no Laser. Not just no Laser, 0 Zerg in the round of 16. No. Purely Protoss, purely Terran. A Classic takes down a Trigger 2-0, Mono 2-0, Clem 2-1. As we mentioned before, Classic is usually the one that can stop Clem, more so than some of the other players, more so than Max Packs or Hero. So Classic does put him, does end up stopping him in the semis, and does actually win in the finals over Hero. Very impressive. Again, Hero, he has arguably the best PvP in the world. Like you saw here. He toured Max Packs, he toured Showtime. So if Hero to fall to Classic here, Classic, he gets his revenge over RSL. Remember, Hero, he did beat Classic in the finals of RSL in that best of 7 or best of 9. But here, Classic does get his revenge. Congratulations. Congratulations, Classic does take down Hero. GG. This time, did avoid Percival. True. Did avoid him. Did not have to face him. Leads us into the number 68s. Thankfully, this time we did have a little bit more Zerg representation, a little bit more red here to the brackets. As a Classic, this time is stopped by Trigger. We did cast this. True. We did cast this last week. Trigger takes down Nice 2-0, takes down Classic 2-1, takes down Showtime 2-1. And out of all players, it wasn't Classic to stop Clem, it was Trigger. Oh my god, Estet Trigger takes down Clem 3-2 in a best of 5 finals. Very impressive performance here by Trigger. Winning his first What Is It Be Monday. Winning his very first What Is It Be Monday. Very impressive performance here by Trigger, as he has not won one of these in the past, and not an easy run for him either. So GG. Especially considering that Clem has the best TVP in the world. Like it's the best TVP in the world. So you do not get any more difficult than Clem when it comes to Terran opponents. GG. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies, number 35. This bracket is a little bit different. This is organized and run by Comeback TV, by TKL. TKL, he does organize this, he does run this. It is a double elimination bracket instead, with best of ones in that lower bracket. With those best of ones. Shout out to Fiance. Fiance does get the highest placing Zerg award. So Fiance does walk away with 25 USD, as he does make it to the lower bracket round 3 against Percival. Does make it against Percival here, but in the upper bracket we had Max Max. Max Max takes down Gabe 2-0, does fall to Trigger in the upper brackets, but does win in the rematch. Also went to the ace match though, if you look at that best of 5. So back and forth between Trigger and Max Max. Trigger, he beat Clem and he won the Wardy tournament, and even here looking very, very in form. Este Trigger, damn. He took down Björn, and again he took down Max Max, and he went all the way to the ace match against Max Max in the rematch as well. So crazy run there by Trigger. That leads us into the grand finals, into the end of year finals here for the Platinum StarCraft League. This was casted by Rotterdam, and we did have 8 players invited due to their performances throughout the course of the year. Once again, very similar to our bracket, very heavy when it comes to Protoss and Terran. Here we did have Shameless. We had Shameless, we had Creator, Geralt, Jumi, Cristiano, Nightmare, Nickract, and Percival. Hoping to avoid that PvP finals, but here Shameless takes down Nightmare 2-1, impressive. Geralt takes him down 3-1 instead. Best of 7 upper bracket finals, Jesus, crazy series. As Geralt takes down Percival 4-3, big win there for Geralt, and then he faces off against Creator in the grand finals. Creator actually went down to Nickract in the first round. Again, Nickract has some killer TVP. Never count him out. Nickract beat Creator initially, then he beat Nightmare, but Nickract, he lost in the rematch against Creator, and Creator was able to take it from there. So GG. GG well played. Congratulations to Creator, taking down Nickract 3-0, taking down Percival 4-2, and taking down Geralt in those finals. So GG well played. Congratulations to Creator. That leads us into KSL, the Korean StarCraft League. Again, this was last weekend, the first KSL of the year. Here we had Hero. Hero takes down Nice 2-1, takes down Gumiho. Takes down Gumiho 2-0, and takes down Creator 3-1 in the finals. Creator, he did have a really impressive performance to make it to those finals though. To make it to those finals, to go up against, to take down Classic in the semis, to go up against Hero. So he did have a very nice run to get there, but congratulations to Hero for claiming the win. Again, Hero, he's kind of is the KSL champion. He's the one that does win this the most, of course, and does come out on top here as well. GG. GG, well played to Hero. That leads us into the mini Roddy Monday. I think this was just because there was no Monday Night Weekly, so Rotterdam did decide to host some events himself during the downtime, during the off season. This was at the end of 2025 in December. Oh my God. This is where all the Zerg players were. This is true. I think maybe a bit of a smaller budget or smaller prize pool, but regardless, GG Machine, he does go on a tear. He takes down Nickrak, takes down Lelix, takes down Fiant, takes down Sebestus, and takes down Sebestus in the rematch finals as well. Congratulations to GG Machine. We are missing some heavy hitters, like there's no Max Pax or Clem or any Koreans, actually. True, no Koreans here either. But regardless, a really nicely balanced tournament, and shout out to G Machine winning a tournament for the first Zerg champion in a long time. True. Oh my god. G Machine, congratulations. Shout out to Sebestus. He actually beat Harston twice, beat him in the upper bracket and lower bracket as well. So not an easy opponent. Shout out to Sebestus. That leads us into the second mini Roddy Monday, which was on the 5th of January. The first week of January. This actually had some more eyes on it. Did have the same prize pool actually, but did have more eyes on it. We did have some Koreans here. We had Björn and Percival showing up. We had, when it comes to European representation, Big Gabe. Yo, let's go. Big Gabe showed up as well. Very rare to see HeroMarine compete in these tournaments. We had Björn taking down Young Jakob. He took down Cristiano, took down Percival, and took down Big Gabe in the grand finals. Oh, only a best of 3. Best of 3 finals, which is a little bit odd, but you know, maybe just because of time. Like, it was double elimination brackets, a very long tournament, I would imagine. A lot of Terran versus Terran as well. But congratulations to Björn for becoming the champion. Did drop a map, but only to Cristiano. True, Cristiano was the only player to take a map off of Björn. Congratulations. Again, I don't really expect to see Rotterdam host more of these. I think this was just in the interim because there were no Monday Night Weeklies, just to kind of like host these at the start of the year. Up next, we had Pegasus Cup number 63. This is the more kind of NA time zone or time slot event. Here we had the European Degens. We had Clem competing, Shameless as well, Young Yakov, Max Pax. Typically, we expect to see Max Pax make a little bit further in these events, but Cure took him down to 0. Likewise, Solar took down Björn 2-1. Clem took down Solar, and Clem took down Hero in the finals. Went all the way to the ace match. This time, there's no Classic to stand in his way. Instead, we had Clem taking down Hero. Still went all the way to the ace match, though. GG all play. Congratulations to Clem. The Pegasus Cup format is a little bit different. It has best of 5 semis. That's kind of the big difference here. Best of 5 semifinals, so we get extra games in those semis. But also, one of the reasons for that is because they do run at the same time. And that wraps up our Open Cups for the year. As we have the final events, the final 2 events, we have the Wardy TV 2025 playoffs. This was the end of year tournament that Wardy hosted. We had already gone through the group stage, but it was the playoffs that did take place throughout the course of the end of the year. And even then, I think we had already gone through like the first half of the playoffs. I think. When was the last podcast? Last podcast was on the 18th, so no, actually we didn't go through any of this. Oh god, maybe just the beginning. I know. If that. So yeah, it was a massive bracket, double elimination. When it comes to stand-up performances here, what did we have? We had so many best of 5s. I mean it was like a week-long plus a month-long tournament, so a lot of matches were played, a lot of best of 5s. Jesus. And who made it to the finals? Solo took down Cure 3-0. Solo took down Hero 3-2. Impressive. Classic took down Solar. Then we had Shin going on his own tear. Shin took down Max Pax and Classic. The crazy performance here out of Shin, which is also why it's a little bit upsetting to see that he left WBG. But yeah, Shin took down Max Pax 3-2. Shin took down Classic 3-2 as well. So crazy performances here. Out of all the players in the upper bracket, including Rainer, Clem, Solar, Hero, Classic, like Shin of all players makes it through. Definitely not someone that I was really expecting. I should also point out that Raynor did knock Clem down to the lower bracket, and MaxPax knocked Raynor down to the lower bracket as well. Speaking of the lower bracket, where did Clem meet his end? Classic. There he is. Classic, the Clem Crusher. He takes down Clem 3-2. Clem got his win over Raynor in the rematch. Clem also beat MaxPax and Hero. Jesus, Clem had a really difficult run down there. Took down Hero, MaxPax, Raynor. Like, these are the best Protoss and Zerg players out there. And then eventually fell to Classic. And Classic, he had a much more one-sided finals, 4-0 over SHIN. I'll be honest, that's more of what I expect between those two players, which is why I was very impressed to see SHIN initially beat both MaxPax and Classic. I didn't see those games, but it's possible that maybe SHIN was being a little bit cheeky in those series, and after adjusting, Classic had a bit of a cleaner performance in the finals. That's my assumption just based off of the results we're seeing here. But congratulations to Classic and a shout out to SHIN for making it to the finals. Again, we don't often see Zerg players make it this far in these tournaments, so always do appreciate it whenever we have some diversity. GG. GG. As that leads us into the Winter Cup qualifier and main event. So we did have the initial qualifiers here. We had, I believe, 4 players. Yeah, top 8. Never mind. Top 8 made it through into the main event. So we had Classic, Percival, Shameless, Creator, MaxPax, Rogue, Hero, and Beyond. Classic did win the qualifier, but there was a little bit less on the line here, as top 8 did qualify for the main event. Heading on over to the main event, this did take place in the beginning of the year, and actually, so beginning of the year, but it ends at the end of January. So we are making our way through the group stage. We had 8 players invited and 8 players from the qualifier. From the invites, we had Rex, Solar, Young Yakov. Interesting to see Rex invited. That almost to me feels like Wardy was like scrambling for a Zerg player and he didn't have one, so he looked over at the casters and he was like, "Hey Rex, jump on." so we have a random Rex showing up. Kira, Gumiho, Geralt, and Showtime. Jesus, very Protoss heavy here when it comes to the event itself. But here we had our group stage. So in Group A, we had Classic, Bjorn, Rogue, and Percival. Round robin, Jesus. That's a lot of games. Round robin group stage here. So they all play against each other. Classic comes out on top. He comes out in first place. Classic did drop a map to Bjorn. That's it though. He only dropped a single map. Bjorn comes out in second place, as he actually lost to Percival. Did lose to Classic, but he did beat Rogue. It was actually very close between Rogue, Bjorn, and Percival. They all had some rough performances here, but Bjorn barely came out on top. So Beyond and Classic make it through. Group B, we have Hero, Cure, Solar, and Geralt. Hero and Cure, they do make it through themselves. Hero also going through undefeated, not dropping a single map, coming out in first place. Cure coming out in second. In my mind, it was going to be close between Cure and Solar, but Cure did take down Solar 2-1 in the groups. GG. GG well played. That leads us into Group C. Once again, we did mention previously, but Gumio has been less in shape, less in form. Gumio comes out last place in Group C. We had Creator and not Shameless. I was leaning towards Shameless over Young Yakov. Shameless beat Gumiho, but that's the only player he beat. Yeah, the only player he did defeat. So Shameless does not make it through, and we have Creator and Young Yakov advancing on instead. So congratulations. Then we have Group D. Group D is going to be in a week. Gee, oh, that's a big break. It looks like there were maybe some scheduling issues, but it looks like Wardy, he did reschedule this that's in almost 2 weeks. 28th of January. Jesus. They're going to have to adjust this. Looking at the Wikipedia page, initially this was meant to end on the 28th of January, but they're going to have to push back the playoffs at this point. So yeah, it's so unfortunately it looks like there was some scheduling issues. We have Showtime, MaxPax, Rex, and one unknown player. I guess that means that one of the players was unavailable. Who are we missing? Rex, Solar, Young Yakov, Rogue. We have all the Zergs. Cure, Gumiho, Beyond, and Percival. Yep. Are we missing? Am I blind? Are we missing someone? Kira, help me out here. Are we? We're missing a Protoss player, right? Oh, it's Rogue. Oh, no. Rogue is there. Yeah, we're missing a Protoss. Okay, maybe I'm blind. Maybe I'm blind.
I'm trying to look for it and I'm not seeing it.
No.
Percival? No, Percival played in May.
No. So we're missing. We're not missing anyone, but we are. If you look at the invites, it says 8 invited, but it only shows 7. So there's just a player that has yet to be invited. So it looks like last second invites. Wardy's still looking for someone to invite for Group D. Could be anyone. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping for maybe some Zerg representation, but like there's room here for like maybe Clem, maybe Rainer, maybe Lambo, maybe Skillus. Like there's a lot of room here, so we'll see. We'll see what Wardy goes for, but we are missing an invite. When it comes to Group D, it's hard to say right now. Max Faction Showtime my favorite, but that invite could be anyone and could threaten them as well, depending on who gets invited, like a Clem, like a Rainer, like one of these other top players. But otherwise, best of luck. Best of luck to all the other players involved. Best of luck as this event will conclude at the end of January. Whew. And with that, we have wrapped up all the events here of the year that we missed out on. There's still more to go through. As I mentioned before, we did actually push some tournaments like Water TV Monday 69, nice, Monday Night Weekly 36, and Pixar Cup 64. We'll be going over that next week, just because there was just so many events to go through, and we just had to kind of speed run through it as well. So yeah, it's great to be back. I do apologize for maybe glossing over some more impressive results or spending a little bit less time on some of these events. But again, we haven't had a podcast in a good amount of time, so there was a lot to catch up on and a lot to go through. And I'm running out of voice, so my voice is running out. So with that, congratulations to all the players that were actually active. Again, a lot of these tournaments did go on hiatus during the holidays, so we're making our return as well. We're going to be having our first Tuna Cup of the year this weekend on the 18th of January. Again, if you want to take part in some of these tournaments, sign up list, exclamation mark sign up list in the chat. Plenty of events here to sign up for. We have the uThermal 2v2 Circuit Bonus Cup. We have the Patches Patch Clash number 12. We have Tuna Cup. We have Water TV Monday. We have the OSC Elite Rising Star tournaments, Monday Night Weeklies, and many more events over the course of the week. It is all available there in the sign up list. Likewise, if you want to support us, you can do so via Patreon. Again, I do apologize that we have not been hosting our events over the past week. We've been having a bit of a hiatus. If you are curious, I did actually address this during our last broadcast, during the Water TV Monday cast. I addressed this, and I think Kuro did pin it in our Discords. So if you're curious, if you want some IRL life updates, then that's in our Discord server. So it is available there if you wish in video form. So yeah, that's continuing even tomorrow. For those that are curious for an update, tomorrow in around 12 hours. In 12 hours time, we're going to be taking Chi-Chi to a specialist, which is an hour and a half drive away. So that's going to be happening tomorrow morning. That's also why I did kind of want to speed run through this and also move some things to next week, just because I have to prepare some things and get ready for tomorrow. Have to get ready. This weekend is going to be a busy one. It is going to be busy. We have the Thunderfire event, so we have the uThermal 2v2 circuit, and we have the Tuna Cup as well. As I said before, I'm on the fence when it comes to some of the broadcasting, just because of things that are happening IRL. So I don't know how available I'm really going to be, but I'll do my best to actually host the Tuna Cup this week. Otherwise, we might push it to February, which ideally we don't. But again, our schedule is going to be very, very busy over the next couple of weeks. With the Rongyi Cup, with Thunderfire Cup, with uThermal's events, there's just a lot of StarCraft going on. We'll do our best. And again, we do apologize for being very inactive over the past, I say week, over the past like 2 weeks. Do apologize, but we should be getting back in shape and back in form soon. So soon TM, Pappy, soon TM. Hopefully we're able to bring it all together again. Fingers crossed. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching again. You can support us via Patreon. Our Patreon does fund our tournaments. It funds the Tuna Cups, funds our Duckling Opens, and Masters 1 Opens as well. Again, just to reiterate, we did have less tournaments this month of January just because of things that have been happening IRL, but we should be back on track in February at least. Back on track. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next time. Of course, shout out to Kura for handling the production side of things. And again, our next broadcast should be over the weekend with the Thunderfire event. That should be casted. That should be covered here on the CranKy Ducklings. I think that should be a sure thing. Is the Thunderfire event. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Hasta luego. Ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego.